Welcome in to the CFR show, the best draft show in the land for the Buffalo Bills. Today we have an action-packed show. We are finally here, guys. We are finally here the night before the draft, the moment that us draft nerds have been all waiting for, all the work we've put in, all the tape we've watched, all the reports that we have written culminates into this one moment when tomorrow we finally figure out if the Bills are going to take ETN at 30 or not.
Just starting off dark. Just gonna go dark right away, EJ.
Put a whole cloud, a whole cloud over tonight's episode.
Go right for it, baby. But what we have for you guys tonight, first of all, we have a guest today. We have Mr. Don Troutman from Buffalo Fanatics, joining us and going to give his insight, to our draft picks, to our mock drafts, and giving his knowledge to the Bills Mafia. So Don, we appreciate you coming on today and blessing us with your.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, welcome aboard, man. Thank you.
Yes, yeah, love talking draft.
Always, we love talking draft. It gets hot-blooded sometimes, but we love talking draft too. So, we have a 7-round mock draft for you guys. Don did not get a chance to do one, but Don is going to react to all of our mock drafts also. So I did one, the Sports Bully did one, and TFC did one. So we will start with Greg's mock draft because Greg actually has an article up right now on the Cold Front Report chronicling his picks and why he did what he did. So we will start with Greg, and then once we put Greg's up, we want you guys to react to say which pick you like. So, Greg, I'm going to put your mock draft up, and I want you to talk about, why you made these picks and what was your thought process going into some of these picks that you made at the rounds that you did.
Certainly. All right. I think we're all in agreement that the Bills have lacked pass rushing. I think that's the biggest need we need. I think if you look at last year, despite all the PFF statistics, I know a lot of people love it. I think we struggled getting to the quarterback, and we got two veterans who are over 30, and it's time to address that position. And so I went with Jalen Phillips. I think he's the best pass rusher in the draft. I think he's the most natural pass rusher we have. And I think if he falls to us, I think it would be absolutely the best move to grab him. That we talked earlier, that step in and play this year. A lot of away guys, so they might be another year away. They might be a bit of right to him. Right off rip can come in and contribute on rotational specialist stuff like that, and I think that's the best foot forward. And
Don, I want you to
the second pick, we're gonna
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
keep
Go
going.
ahead. Oh, bad.
going down the
keep
boards that we want to do.
Well,
Yeah,
give it a
you
second.
keep breaking up.
Yeah, we're having a bit of a connection issue, so let's
Yeah, we have a connection.
yeah, so let's go.
Yeah,
Let's go around and see. Don, as far as Jalen Phillips goes.
No, I just if you would keep running down the picks, I'll run down the picks.
Don, go ahead.
Yeah, so I really like I think this is going to be I think all three of us or all four of us are going to be in the same consensus where we need to go at 30. Like he had it, defense getting to the quarterback is going to be huge. We got two guys on the outside. I think this could be Jerry Hughes last year. Addison you have as well. And to be honest with you, I mean, going that route is great because, Phillips is the best pure pass rusher in this draft by far. A lot of people, they knock him on a lot of things, the concussions. Is he totally into, he wanted to retire. Is he 100% into, football, when he was at UCLA and then he transferred over to Miami. To me, he's a great player. He really is. And if he's really dedicated and 100% in, he'd be a great player to have. And any defensive end or edge guy we do get, or if we look at, they don't have to start day one. Like we talked earlier, 10 to 15 snaps. You got the two vets, you got Epinesa, you still got Daryl Johnson, but you have to start looking towards the future. And I think Brandon Beane hit it on the button when he says, listen, we got guys, we might draft somebody that doesn't have to start day one, but might have to start down the road because we have guys that contract issues. So to me, that was a no-brainer on that, whether it's Phillips or another guy. So yeah, I really like that first guy.
Yeah, and by the way, if you don't question your love of football when you play for Chip Kelly, you might be a robot. So leaving Chip Kelly, and then like head issues are scary. So I don't blame a guy for having second questions and second thoughts about like, do I want to do this for the rest of my life? And taking a step back when you have a series of brain injuries, and then he decided through that, yes, I do. To me, that shows more commitment than it was just easy the whole time, and I haven't had to fight through any adversity. So I agree. I think a lot of the knocks on Jalen Phillips are invalid. He's a franchise rusher. Like he's the franchise rusher of this draft class as far as classic edge rusher with all the tools that you want and the production, the hands. My God, Greg, his hands. I love him. I just love the way he uses them.
It's just natural. And one of the big things, too, that a lot of people don't know about him, when he stepped on at Miami, when he finally made it over, he was 220 pounds. And he had a red shirt that year, and he worked his behind off and put on like 30, 40 pounds of solid muscle. And really, so his work ethic is extraordinary. I think now that he's at that next level, I think he's even going to be, that much of a better player going forward with his work ethic and all the tools that he has. It's unreal.
Yeah. Greg, I wanted you to the second pick that you had cornerback Paulson Adedebo from Stanford as your second round pick. One would say that pick is somewhat of a reach due to the fact, his only thing is like he just has, the length and the size. I mean, you could have went with another cornerback, in my opinion. But what was your thought process on that, getting him?
Well, I think the reason I landed on Adebo is I think there's going to be a big run in the second round early, and I think a lot of those guys that we would anticipate falling to us probably aren't going to be there. So I think we're going to have to kind of make an adjustment in the second round if we're going to go for cornerback. I think the value's there. I think he's something that we're looking for. He's got height, he's got length. I think he's got the ability to play man and he could play in zone. He was really productive at Stanford. I know a lot of people look back and he had some really crap games that really people trashed on him. But I think overall his body of work, he was highly productive. He had made a lot of plays on the ball. He has a lot of interceptions. He has a ton of pass breakups. So I think he's an effective corner, and the value there in the second round, like you said, it might be a little bit of a reach. But I really predict that there's going to be a big run throughout the second round on cornerbacks once everything gets situated. So I think he's all right there, because if according to my draft, we go pass rusher first. If we're going to go corner in a third, we're probably not going to get anybody that could really make an upgrade over Levi Wallace this year. So I think if we address it in the second round, we probably can get somebody who can come in and contribute, and if not, beat out Levi Wallace. I think if we don't address it in the second round, the third round is going to be too late with the talent drop off.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, when you put it like that, then I'm fully with that pick. If you feel like it's going to be a run on quarterbacks, cornerbacks coming aside at some point in the draft. One pick I want to talk about, Don. I want you to talk about his pick of Kendrick Green. What do you like about Kendrick Green, and how do you think he could come in and be a day one starter on the Bills line?
I do. I like Green a lot, and I think that's a perfect spot for him. Interior line has to be a focus in the top 4, but I don't think he has to start day one, which is good. So I think we're good on the offensive line. We're not having to make a ton of movement, but he would be a great guy. He gets to learn from some vets there too. The best thing about this Bills team right now is we don't really have to reach. We could get the best player available, whether it's a tackle, a safety. I mean, you name it, across the board. I think those first 2 rounds are going to be key. Greg, I like what you said about the cornerback thing, because when I look at mocks in the first round right now, I'm like dabbling between a edge guy or a cornerback, depending if one of these corners do land there around 30, but there's going to be a huge run. I mean, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot left at that 60 spot. So that could be a place we do go. So, I totally get where you're coming from drafting a guy that early. But the guard situation, he'd be a great fit at third rounder. Really, when you look at this Bills team, third on, those are going to be your backup guys, your depth guys that we're going to look at the future. If we can't re-sign, some of these guys, like Botner, we just did him for a year. So maybe down the road he moves.
Restricted free agent tender. So that's just the baseline of what he signs for. Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at Green. He's got versatility. He did play some center, and I think, like you said, the Feliciano deal is not a long-term rock solid deal. No. Cody Ford hasn't really exactly shown that he's going to be that guy there. And then you said you got the Forrest Lamp project. So I think really addressing it with a high quality player there makes a ton of sense.
And he can play center as well. So there's the long term. Does Mitch Morse's contract become a problem? You got a guy in the roster that doesn't have to start right away at any position, but he could easily replace Feliciano and then eventually replace Morse in the center of the line. So that's a great value as far as the flexibility of the starter as well. And I'm a huge man crush on Kendrick Green.
Yeah, I thought you'd like that one.
I do like I do like Kendrick Green too. I usually pick him in the same spot when I do mock drafts too. I was listening to him on the 2 for 1 podcast last week, and he was talking about how he's still pretty raw at the position. Like, he's only been playing it for a couple years, because if I'm not mistaken, he came in college playing defensive tackle and then switched to offensive line. So he's still really raw at the position. Like you said, TFC, he has that positional versatility where he can play center and guard, and this may be a situation where he was playing guard in college, but he may be an all-pro center. So I mean, taking him on the third round, I think would definitely be a good pick. So TFC, coming to you, just because you also have this same pick in your mock draft when we get to yours, talk about the Dazz Newsome fit and pick, and then talk about why you guys love Dazz Newsome so much. I like Dazz too. I actually got a chance to speak to Dazz, but talk about why Dazz Newsome is such a lover for you and Greg.
So part of it is that the Bills have had pre-draft meetings, which we've covered on the podcast before, with Dazz Newsome. I think we all like Dazz Newsome as far as when you watch his tape, he is just one of the guys that's fun to watch. He's scrappy, he's strong, he's a mature player. I think physically he's topped out, but as far as a project for a slot player, it's a good pick. And I'm not in love with Dyami Brown the way that I think somebody else, a lot of the other people on our draft show have liked Dyami Brown. And when you're going later in the draft, I don't want a project like the Faco kid from Stanford. I want a guy that I know.
Stanford.
Yeah. Did I say Samford? I meant Stanford. I don't want one of those guys that I'm wondering about the upside, because the Bills already have that in the guys that they have on the roster, so the young guys they drafted last year. Dazz Newsome, different body type, and the slot versatility, and I like his quickness. I like his zip. All of those things fit later in the draft for me as far as his positional skills and his temperament, all those things. Like, it's just later in the draft is when I want them to address receiver, and that's the guy that I think fits the best.
Yeah, definitely. I'm in. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to
No, you go
follow
ahead.
up on that too. Daz Newsome, I think he's probably a fourth round, back of the fourth round, so it might be a little bit of a reach to get him in the fifth round. But like everything TFC said, just to echo that, I think he would be somebody that can come in and learn behind Beasley and probably replace him. He's got that kind of fluidity, that athleticism. He's very silky, and like we talked about when we broke him down, he's a tremendous blocker. For a scrappy little dude, he's tough. He helps out. He does a lot of things, and he's used in a multitude of ways in that North Carolina offense. And he also has some return skills, which we don't really have a identified returner right now. So I think he in the fifth
It's a good
round,
point.
There's not a lot of you're not going to find more guys with more value in the fifth round than you can get with Daz Newsome.
No, I agree.
Daz is definitely a player that I think, like we talked about, he's been talking to the Bills, and he when I spoke to him in his pro day, he mentioned that playing in the cold doesn't really matter for him. He just want to go out there and do whatever he has to do to help the team win. So as we wrap up Greg's draft, Don, I want you to talk to us about what do you like from Daz Newsome in terms of being that slot player in the future to overtake Cole Beasley at some point. Because I only asked this question because when I was watching Daz Newsome's tape, I noticed that he catches the ball with his body, and I hate that for any receiver. There are some situations where you do need to catch the ball with your body when you're getting hit, but he was doing it a little bit too consistently for me. So do you think his trajectory will be able to be the slot receiver that Cole Beasley is?
Well, I really think he could be, because not only could he to jump into that spot, but obviously the punt returner as well and the kick returner. He was a great special teams player. Right now you have two of them that we brought. We brought on Brandon Powell, the old Florida kid, and then we have obviously McKenzie, who is a huge favorite of us fans. And you know what? He took a huge discount to come back to the Bills. I'm sure he could have got a lot more than what he did. So yeah, I think it would be. I actually would like to see McKenzie more in the slot and play him more than it's just a gadget type player. But no, that kid would be good because he doesn't have to play day one. Really, when you look at it, our offense is pretty loaded. So you get to come in and you got a great offensive, a locker room there. So it really helped a kid like that. So if you can get him in the fifth right there, I think that's a good spot.
Yeah. All right. Greg, your mock draft was really good. What did FF give you on my mock draft that I did for you? What was it? A B plus? I'd be happy with this draft if this was the way it turned out. So
can I make a quick comment?
Mock draft.
So it's Paris Ford, but that's DeMar Hamlin, right? As
DeMar
the second
Hamlin,
to last
yes,
pick.
I'm sorry, yeah. I don't want to put you out there like that, Greg. It was definitely DeMar Hamlin.
But
all right,
not just that. I like that fit. And again, it addresses a long-term need where you've got a guy that has experience in a cover 2, cover 4 situation at Pittsburgh. And he's a guy that fits the physical mold, and it fits the stylistic mold of what the Bills are looking from safeties, as far as guys that can dabble in the slot, guys that are tough in the box and can play half field and quarter field zones. I love that fit. That's a fit that I think works well. The question is, after you re-upped both of them, Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer in the last year and a half, is that guy going to be the successor in 3 years? Or is that next year, the year after, where they start to look at the future at that position? But as far as like positional fits, I think DeMar Hamlin is a home run for a third safety.
Right.
I'm glad you liked it.
That was a great, yeah. Great mock draft, Greg. Great mock draft. Bean needs to give you a call.
Thanks.
Now we're going to move to TFC's mock draft. So I'm going to put TFC's mock draft. You guys tell me what you think. So he has Jason Oweh as his first round pick, and we have many talks about Jason Oweh. And then we have Eric Stokes, cornerback from Georgia, as his second round pick. So TFC, I want you to start with your first round pick, because you've actually seen this guy and you've actually talked to this guy. Tell us why you took Jason Oweh with your first round pick.
So, for those that are joining the show for the first time, and I'm sorry for those that aren't, I cover Penn State football. I have a Penn State football podcast. I have been covering Penn State football for about a decade. So I spoken to Jason Oweh a couple of times, and the first time we talked to him, he was famously, the guy that was pushing Micah Parsons in the locker room, as far as like at the, in the weight room athletically. And people would ask him about this stuff, and he's like, the physical side, I have these God-given talents, but I need to learn how to play the position or else it doesn't matter. And that's what he said a year and a half ago. And he's been working on it since then. The problem is, and this is my opinion, he denied that it was an issue, but that's what people do, right? Is they don't want to make the excuse. His position coach, John Scott Jr., was hired right before the pandemic hit. He didn't meet him until June or July, maybe August. So like he had a whole year as a raw developmental prospect who's learning the position. He just started playing the position in his junior year of high school, and then he went a year without instruction. And I still saw, and again, I watch more closely because of what I do, I saw development from 2019 to 2020. He still, it went from bad, no clue to I see what he's trying to do. He just needs to learn how to do it better. So continuing that progression, getting professional coaching when it's his job, I think those talents are going to unlock quickly because last year he was a very good run defender and he used his hands really well. And that's, I think, eventually going to translate to his pass rushing ability once he learns how to naturally address the tackle and he has a counter move to go off his speed rushes and he's got enough power. If it were me, I still think Jaelan Phillips is the better player to play now and potentially his ceiling. I think he has it all. But if he's not there, and in my mock draft he wasn't, Jayson Oweh's the guy because after that, the bottom falls out of the draft class for me, and you don't get another guy like Ronnie Perkins might be a good pass rusher, a speed rusher off the edge, maybe. But
consolation prize.
It's not a great fit, and he's not, any mock draft I've done, he's rarely there at 61. So really then you're looking at Rashad Weaver, Peyton Turner, and then you're looking at a low ceiling or big question marks. So to me, Oweh is the pick, and edge rusher specifically is the pick at 30. And as far as his rawness, I still think from what I've seen of him here, and maybe I'm biased because I've spent more time, but I see more development than I think he's been given credit for, and I think that it's fair to project more in the future, and he doesn't have to be. Like, as we talked about, he can just give you juice for 10 plays every game, and he's got a lot of juice. So that's why I went there. And then Eric Stokes, when I watched this film, it was a lot of zone coverage. He is a good, again, a zone cover corner with great speed and enough size. I'm not in love with the pick. But as you guys said, there's a run on the good corners. So then what are you going to pick? And instead of picking a guy that I think is, limited, very limited instincts that I don't like in Ifeatu Melifonwu at 61 or a slot corner, I went with Stokes, who is a SEC guy and has, I think, a good zone man match skills. So those were the first two picks that I think everyone agrees the Bills need to address those two. And that's how I ended up with those.
Absolutely.
And you can't forget about his 4.3 40 too,
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, you know what? I'll take that because somebody's got to be fast. You can't have scrappy guys all over the field.
Yeah. So I wanted Don to talk about Jayson Oweh just for a second. What do you say to the Bills fans that has done some homework on Jayson Oweh and they look at him and they say, hey, Jayson Oweh didn't get one sack in his last year at Penn State. Now, TFC kind of just touched on it a little bit. He didn't meet his position coach till, way down the line. But what do you say to people who are like, man, he didn't really have any production in college, so why are we taking this guy, with our first round pick, excuse me?
You know what? I did a Edge show about a month ago, and Oweh was in my first round, and a lot of people thought I was crazy because, let's face it, most fans, they look at stats. When you look at the Big Ten this last year, Tom will tell you they were way behind everybody else, way behind. And that, I think, hurt him. The reason why and then he had a guy like Parsons who sat out for 2020. You look at him, though, you look at his body type, the upside for him. I love it. I really do. Be a perfect fit to come in here and play with these guys. It's a huge look at, there's obviously a trend. It's been edge. It's been edge corner. So it could go either way. Listen, we got to get to the quarterback. We got two defensive ends that are 30-plus years old. It's probably going to be Jerry Hughes' last year. So we have to move forward. You got Epinesa, too. Add a kid like that, you have a very, very good future going ahead. Phillips is definitely the better starter to start day one. Probably has more, but I think he's hit that ceiling. Oweh, I love his upside. I love his long reach in that. So Yeah, I really do like that spot.
Greg, Jason Owe was a fan of yours, and we know how you feel about Jerry Hughes. What do you think Jason Owe's ceiling will be? Let's say he touches his potential, right? What do you think his potential is, his ceiling?
I mean, if you're talking about him actually maxing out his potential, I think you're looking at someone who's a double-digit perennial double-digit sack guy.
I agree.
You know, and that's in itself is something that we haven't had here since Mario Williams. You know, and that's something.
Yeah.
You know, that Buffalo hasn't had that guy in a long time, and it was only briefly when we had him. So I think you have some, like I said, he's got phenomenal athletic ability, just rare, freakish gifts in that size and all that stuff. And, you know, yeah, he didn't get to the quarterback, and that's kind of I would say a red flag. Is like, geez, man, you want to see a guy with all that ability and all that talent, coaching or not, just by accident, he should run into a quarterback, and he didn't get to that. But he did make a lot of plays happen for other people. And I think that's something I think what Shaka Tony, ate off of him a lot. And I think, he was able to get upfield and get there. He just wasn't able to finish. And I say you get him in with some coaching and all those natural gifts, I'm not really worried about it. And a lot of people say, oh, what about Aaron Maben? This is not Aaron Maben. This is not a guy anywhere even in the stratosphere of Aaron Maben. This guy has a lot of unbelievable abilities, a lot of good talent. He's got the work ethic. He's got everything there. He just needs a little bit of polish on that, and we'll be fine. I think he'd be tremendous.
Aaron Maben played at 230 in college. Jason Owe plays at 255. There's a huge difference, like just so much difference.
And if I'm not mistaken, Maben had like 90% of his sacks in like 2 games.
Yeah, like he had 12 sacks his final year, and they were all early on in non-conference games. Yeah. That like there's the polar opposite as far as like Jason Owe cares about football. And that's another one of those things where maybe he's raw, but this is a guy, it's not like he's raw because he hasn't put in the work. There's a lot of circumstance involved.
Yeah. So one more pick that I wanted to get to before we move to my mock draft is we've already touched on Daz Newsome, but I want you to touch on Trey Brown from Oklahoma because PFF put out a mock draft, and they also have Bills taking Trey Brown from Oklahoma. If no one knows, he's a 5'9" cornerback. He plays on the outside. Obviously, if you're playing cornerback at 5'9", obviously they're going to say you're undersized. He's very feisty. He's probably obviously more suited for the slot if he is that small. What did you like about Trey Brown that made you mock him to the Bills?
Well, part of it was just at that position in the mock draft I was doing, and I did about 600. It's like that pick. I Kendrick Green was there for everybody, but I figured do something different because I don't know that the Bills are going to take Kendrick Green there. So my idea was simply that multiple bites at the apple, and he has position versatility. So he's a boundary corner that you could play in the slot. So if Eric Stokes doesn't work out, you've got a guy that can play in the boundary or that projects well into the slot as a man cover corner. He gives you a different skill set. And, like Daz Newsome, I like mean dudes that are little. I like the dudes that are going to punch above their weight. I like the dudes that don't care and they're going to maximize their potential. And he was he was a key part of a really good Oklahoma defense. I did a lot of their games last year for PFF, and like their defense from the secondary, first off, they had some great schemes, and they communicated well. They always were on assignment, and they just locked it down. And he was a huge part of that. So to me, that gives me confidence that he can handle a lot. And I want that guy. That's a value to me as far as a smart football player that I think can do 2 things. And no one, I don't think, is in love with Taron Johnson. Even fans that love the highlights, if you're paying attention, you see all the plays he's given up. This is a guy that could potentially come in and revamp that secondary.
Don, what do you, as he just mentioned Taron Johnson, what do you see Trey Brown's role in this defense? I mean, obviously when you play when you're 5'9", we automatically go slot. But, with the offenses that the Bills have to play this year, they got the Bucks. Who else do they have? They got some really good passing offenses I think they have to play this year, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Chiefs.
But do you think the Chiefs too? Absolutely. Do you think that Trey Brown can actually carve out a nice niche for himself on his defense?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit it. Tom hit it right on the head. I like how you went cornerback twice, because Taron Johnson's situation, we all like that ESPN, obviously return in the playoffs. Everybody loves that. And I think that made him some bucks. So that made him a little money. And I think that might be a guy that we're going to have to look at the future. So you grab a guy in. You can never have enough cornerbacks. You never can.
Right.
Let's just be honest.
Absolutely.
You really look at it and look at Miami. You're going to be playing Miami twice a year. Tua doesn't have the unbelievable arm. He's going to be doing a lot of that slot stuff too. So having some slot corners are big. In the way I have looking at it right now with Miami, you got, they got a good tight end. You got Parker. You got Fuller adding on, and then possibly add Waddle, from Alabama, which they could add some speed right there. So adding cornerbacks, I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. So yeah, I do like it. And let's be honest, we don't have our number 2 guy yet. We don't have a number 2 cornerback right now. Do we have guys that can fill in? Absolutely. They're doing okay with it, but we do need to add to that position no matter what.
Yeah. So Greg, talk to me about what you like about Trey Brown and how he'll fit in this defense.
I mean, I'm not as high on the fit for him as everybody else is. I wouldn't be hurt by it. And he does have the versatility where you said automatically you start looking at him to move the corner because, like we talked about in shows past, it's about finding a difference in abilities and traits. And I think if we're going to roll out with a Trey White, who's kind of a smaller sized corner, and add a Brown there, who's also a smaller corner, it's tough to compete, especially when we're going to be going up against teams that apparently everyone's stacking up gigantic tight ends, and that's going to be an issue for us. So we haven't really solved that riddle yet. So, I'm kind of on the fence with it, depending on where he plays and what his role is. Now, you can say, is he a boundary corner at 5'9"? And there's not many NFL boundary corners at 5'9". Scrappy or not, it's a hard way to make a living out there. And if we're going to put him in the slot and have him, do the Taron Johnson role, well, what's his effect in and around the box, coming up and playing run? Taron Johnson is a terrible cover guy. I think we can all admit he got lucky and made himself look great, but he's not a great coverage guy. But he is a loose cannon who will come up and smash people and tackle people in and around the box. So, it's kind of I'm in between with it. I would have to see where and how he would be utilized.
Can I just say I spent so many years being excited to watch Terrence McGee play football that I think that's part of why I'm like, yeah, this guy reminds me of Terrence McGee. He's tiny, he hits, he's angry, he doesn't care how big he is. So that's kind of, I think I was having flashbacks to Terrence McGee watching Trey Brown. So clearly it's a biased pick. But yeah, the positional fit, I agree. It's not a perfect fit by any means.
We all have those crushes,
I don't know.
And they're hard to get over.
Yeah. TFC has the small guy crush, so the PFF you're pretty high. So if the Bills came away with that, I wouldn't be mad. Also because they would be addressing a position that I have been saying ever since the Chiefs needs to be addressed. So as we move to my draft, hopefully you guys like my draft. So this is the draft that I did, and I'm
gonna tear it up.
My thought process.
It's so nice to everybody else.
Here's my draft. Here you go, everyone. Asante Samuel in the first.
Shocker.
Jamin in the second, and I got Kelvin Joseph from Kentucky. So I took 2 Kentucky players back to back. So Don, here's my thought process. Right. So we have just said that the Bills need corners. You can never have too many corners, right? So Asante Samuel Jr. to me is the most instinctive corner in this draft. To me. The competition he played when we did our show, I posted a reel of him, going against Florida, going against Pitts, going against all those NFL wide receivers that Florida currently had on that roster. Like he played his role. You see him jumping routes. You see him, anticipatory, just getting the passes before they even get there. He does that consistently on tape. And as I told TFC on another one of our shows, I said the Bills do not have a corner that's that instinctive currently on their roster. And not only can he play outside, even though his size is a knock, he can play outside and he can play inside. So that was my thought process at the first pick. Then I went back and got Jamin Davis. Now, Matt Milano is cool. He's all right. But I personally feel Matt Milano has reached where he's going to be pretty much as a pro. I think Jamin Davis has a way higher ceiling than Matt Milano could ever think of having, because people have not seen him do the stuff that, they say that you need to be a great linebacker in the NFL today. So why not take a flyer on that in the second round? Because if you're picking him in the third round, he's probably not going to be there because it's going to take him. So why not chase that upside? So I'm chasing upside with my second pick. And for my third pick with Kelvin Joseph, he is another ball hawking cornerback who can also play in the slot. He's 6'1", 192. He has played the best competition. He started at LSU, and he got in trouble, and then he went to Kentucky after a year. Has that upside. He has that athletic profile that you look for and that the Bills currently don't have. They do not have a lot of athleticism on their back end. So those were my reasonings for my first three picks. So I want to know, Don, what are your thoughts after looking at my mock draft? What do you think of it?
So I will tell you this: if Davis is there at 61, I will buy you 50 chicken wings at Duff's anytime you want. I'm just telling you now, because he will not be there at 61. I will be shocked. I actually have him moving into the first round. He is hot right now on the media trail, and he is hot right now in college with the NFL prospects. I'm hearing him anywhere going in that 20 to 25 spot now. But a couple weeks ago, he wasn't right around there. He was anywhere from that 50 to 60, 70 range. He has moved up, and the media has moved him up, and he is a hot name right now. Samuel, love him. Love the guy. And you know what? If we go cornerback and we go Samuel, there, I'd be totally fine with it. You can't go wrong with a guy there, because finding that second cornerback is what we need to find. We need to get that guy. So, and obviously he's got some, he's got a little athletic ability from the family, so that kind of helps too.
Yeah. So Greg, tell me which of those three picks you love the most.
I have
what
nothing
did I
wrong
do
with
that you liked the most?
Please praise me. Like we talked before the show, Asante Samuel Jr. would be our second best corner right off the rip. His first day walking into Buffalo.
Yep.
I don't think that's up for debate. So we all agree we need better corners. We need better cornerback play there. So if you're going to upgrade it at 30, great. I think that's good. And I think we talked about before, having somebody. I think our concern to some extent is having two smallish corners on the boundaries. But you know what? I would rather have two smallish corners on the boundaries who can cover and who can play and who could do those things than have a diverse set of skills who's a little bit. I mean, Levi Wallace is a bigger, taller corner, and he's not very good. You know what I'm saying? So I would rather. I'm more comfortable with having two smaller sized corners on the boundaries who can play the position, who can cover, who could do a multitude of things. So I'm good with that there. I'm in agreement with the Davis thing. I think he is catapulting up, and I think the JOK, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah type has helped Davis jump up in the thing too, because I think a lot of people are looking at him like, wow, well, if I can't get him, who else could I get? And there's not too many guys in this draft who have the skill sets those two guys have.
No.
So,
athletically, he's a better profile because he's bigger.
Yeah,
like he's as athletic, but he's bigger. Yeah.
I mean, he's not doing what JOK does in the field right now, but I think the potential is there. I think he's just a little bit behind schedule in terms of having the same, production there. But I wouldn't be upset with any of those picks. I think coming back doing another cornerback. I know you more corners the merrier, but I think we could get better value in the third round for other things to address than an additional corner. I mean, we do have Dane Jackson, and I think Dane Jackson's going to be a good player, a good contributor this year. And Levi Wallace is, even though we knock him, he's still a back end starting quality corner. So I think with Asante Samuel, Levi Wallace, and Dane Jackson in the mix, I think going with another corner there, I think it's still. I think there's better value served in that third round. Not to praise you all the way through. I had to give you a little slap.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
I feel you.
Yeah.
TFC, I wanted to save one for you. And Don, I want you to chime in too. So TFC, you mentioned in the last segment that we did that you do not mess with Simi Fiaco, right? So here's the thing. Here's my reasoning for drafting Simi Fiaco. we have mentioned that the Bills are in a position where they could take players that have like a stupid athletic profile, right, and be good. Like it's not going to cost them anything, right? Simi Fiaco has been comped to DK Metcalf. The Bills currently do not have a receiver on their roster like DK Metcalf, even though they have a top 5 receiver in Stephon Diggs. If Simi Fiaco was to ever reach close to his ceiling, you got that on one side, and you got Stephon Diggs, and let's say we have Daz Newsome in the slot. Like, I think that's worth taking a flyer on. So I want to understand why you aren't a fan of Simi Fiaco when he has proven that he has the athletic profile and he has traits similar to one of the best receivers in the league.
He's proven he has traits, which means he walked onto the field, but he and had those traits. He didn't do anything realistically all that impressive with them. That's my problem. Is they already have Gabe Davis. They have Gabe Davis, who is a deep threat, ball, big play sort of guy, and played well. So what you're saying is, and I don't disagree with the theory of, we're not buying all in on Gabe Davis, but if you're going to address a future position, if Gabe Davis doesn't work, take a first-round receiver next year. That's how I feel. It's like you can get a receiver to come on the field and step on the field and be effective. I don't think Cole Beasley's falling off a cliff, literally or figuratively, in the next 2 years. So if you need a boundary receiver, go get whoever Terrence Marshall is next year. Because if there's one thing we've seen, there are 13 first-round receivers every year now. So I'm fine addressing it high next year, where I think the real need and value is, as opposed to storing another guy on the depth chart that you can't keep all these guys. You can't keep Isaiah McKenzie and Gabe Davis and Emmanuel Sanders and Cole Beasley and the kid that I can't ever remember his name that Greg wrote an article about. Isaiah Hodgins, because again, he's been so impactful for this roster so far. So that's really my thing is like, do you need another one of those guys? Because someone's getting cut, and that's a waste of a 5th round pick, and you're not cutting Gabe Davis. Like that's not happening. So that's really my problem with drafting one of those high upside guys, unless he's proven it and like there's some sort of like massive fall, and he's going to be a starter. Like you think he can supplant everybody in front of him on the roster. I don't think it's a wise roster balance move.
So Don, to TFC's point, why would it not be a good move to draft Simi Fiaco in the 5th round? I mean, why couldn't I play him in the slot? Why could I not, utilize? He ran a 4.3 at his combine. I mean, again, the Bills do not have many of these guys on their roster on the offensive and defensive side, period. Right? So my thinking is injecting this team with some athleticism. So I would like you to tell me, what do you like about Simi Fiaco on this team, and what don't you like about Simi Fiaco on this team?
Yeah, I do like him. But when I look at your draft, where are we going to get to the quarterback? So to me, honestly, to me, the
coverage
top 4
sacks, coverage sacks.
Exactly. I do like him as a receiver, but to me, I probably wouldn't be looking at a receiver right there either. I might wait to that, maybe the David Moore or even the 7th rounder. We have the guys right now. To me, it's building that defense. That is my priority this year. That's what I think we need to do. But yeah, I mean, to your fact, I do like the guy. He's got some good upside to him, but to me, he's not the guy I would go after probably in that 5th round.
He would have been a great pick last year. He would have been that would have been an absolutely tremendous pick last year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I guess we're all in agreement that I had the worst draft because I reached for a while.
I like Milton Williams less than that pick. So I mean, take your pick about which one.
I didn't even want to ask you about Milton Williams because you just poo-poo all over him now. Even though Milton Williams had a similar pro day and a similar profile to one Aaron Donald. And the reason
give me a break. Give me a break on the next Aaron Donald.
Listen,
I thought we already have the next Aaron Donald. We're still waiting on him.
So first off, if I may, just for this moment, how many more 3 techniques do you need on this roster? So that's one. Number two, I put on the tape of him against Georgia State, and guess what I saw him getting done? What happened to him? He got his ass kicked by double teams. Aaron Donald doesn't get his ass kicked by double teams. So if you're going to be 272 pounds and have a similar athletic profile, you better have a similar strength profile, which he does not, which means he's not the next Aaron Donald, because Ed Oliver has a similar strength profile to Aaron Donald and is also not the next Aaron Donald, because there is no next Aaron Donald. There is no next Aaron Donald. So like when we do these athletic comps, it's only so far. So it gets you in the ballpark of, okay, I'll look at these guys. And then when I put on the tape and I see he doesn't split double teams with quickness, he gets pushed off the ball, he's not stout against the run. Aaron Donald has unreal strength for his size. He is a 300-pound man in a 280-pound body. And you don't find that. That's the point. You don't find that. So when I go and I find a hole in the game, what we have is a tweener. He might be a great 5 technique. He might be a great guy who can play on the edge and have some body type position versatility, but he's only a pass rusher. And this team already has those guys, those projects. So what you're saying is Aaron, like you're bailing on Ed Oliver a little bit in a 5th round pick. And I don't hate that part. So I will come back off the gas a little bit and say that you can always have more pass rush, and that's what he gives you. But that's the only thing he gives you. He's not Aaron Donald. He's not a 3-down player.
So again, why?
I don't think there's ever been a bigger rant on a non-factor player I've ever heard in my life. But wow, you put it together.
No, his Caleb Fairley rant was way bigger than that.
No, but I'm saying Caleb Ferry is a very relevant player. You know, I think Milton, and I didn't care for the guy. I really didn't. You know, I wasn't impressed.
Don, what do you think of Milton Williams? Like I said, I mean, all of this hype isn't just coming out of nowhere. He graded over 90 for PFF, even though it was the last 5 games that pushed his grading profile that far. I do understand that. And he played at Louisiana Tech, didn't play the best competition, but all of his combine numbers were in the 90th percentile. And he does have some quickness. He can get to the quarterback. Yes, he does not split double teams. But as a person who has watched Aaron Donald for his whole career, he also is crushed by double teams too. That's why people say he isn't the best player in the league, because he gets crushed by double teams too. So I mean, all I'm saying is that everybody gets crushed by double teams. Though. That's all I'm saying.
You're gonna get you're gonna see these 290-pound, 285-pound D tackles lose ground on double teams. I mean, it's the lay of the land.
Exactly.
But I think if we're going to invest in a defensive tackle, like TFC said, we have 4. Even if you throw in F.A. Obata in terms of a possible 3-tech rotational guy who can pass rush, we really need to address a true 1 technique if we're going to address a defensive tackle position. And then there's not many of those guys in this draft. And if you look back at to Daryl Slayton out of Florida, has a lot of upside in the 5th round for a 1 technique player, 6'5", 330+ pounds, can move, can offer some, interior pass rush and be stout against double teams and be physical there. So I think if we're going to address defensive tackle positions, should be a 1 technique type body.
In the end, if you were Aaron Donald, he'd be going 13th overall like Aaron Donald. He's going in the 5th round in your draft, so he's not Aaron Donald by default. Yeah. So that's really like the player comp to me is a bit ridiculous in the sensationalism. That's really what it is. It's a sensationalism of everyone's the next.
I didn't comp him to Aaron Donald. I'm just saying what the scouts
I just heard that he was comped to Aaron Donald. Yeah. I just heard it, and I'm going to repeat it 2 or 3 times on 2 or 3 shows.
Daniels was promoting his guy on the basis that he was comped to Aaron Donald. So you were using it to your advantage a little bit,
right?
Don,
I didn't say it. I'm just repeating it 1,000 times.
Don, I want to know what you think of Milton Williams before we move on.
I do like the guy. I think that it's not what we need. We do need a 1 technique, like I think Greg said. Slayton, I love that pick. I'm a Florida guy, so I'm a big SEC guy. I'm a big Gator fan. Slayton's exactly what we need, and that's what we really got hurt on last year. Why do you think Ed Oliver wasn't able to do what he does? He was out of position the whole year. Starr was a bigger hit than anybody will ever know. I mean, you can ask anybody. So a 1 technique to me is the way to go if we're going to go a defensive tackle.
Why, you guys don't love Vernon Butler?
That's why he took a pay cut, because he knew he wasn't going to get a job after that.
How disappointed can I look? I'm trying it out.
You look angry.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you guys' feedback on my mock draft. That must mean that Bean is not giving me a call. Bean will not be calling me anytime soon for any advice. But one thing we can agree on, and one thing that is the most hot button topic right now for Bills draft Twitter or Bills draft period, is the Bills actually putting traction behind grabbing a running back at 30. Now, here's my thoughts, and I will let the panel go before I'm going to do my rant first, and then I want everybody else to go. Here's the thing. Bills Mafia has been clamoring to have Travis Etienne as the pick or Najee Harris. I've been hearing Travis Etienne more, right? So what Bills Mafia keeps telling me is that we need to have a threat out of the backfield, right? That is the consensus as to why they want a running back at 30. Or Travis Etienne, they feel will take them to the Super Bowl. And I always ask this question, like, yo, is Travis Etienne any closer to bringing us to the Super Bowl? And the answer consistently always is no, he is not. So why are we drafting him at 30 if he's not going to take us closer to the Super Bowl? The Bills was one game away from winning the Super Bowl, right? So if you want a threat out of the backfield, TFC, you brought up Kenneth Gainwell. Wouldn't he offer that same threat? You know what I mean? So why is it that everyone wants to get Travis Etienne? Why are we spending our 30th pick on a running back when, number one, you're probably not going to pay him after third year? Yeah, everyone's crying fifth-year option, but how many running backs are actually getting paid a second contract? There's only, one? That was Derrick Henry, and he earned his money. That's the only running back I will get some justification for. But you look at any of the we'll go to fantasy football because a lot of people play fantasy football. Look at the top 10 fantasy backs. Only 2 of them were taken in the first round. All the rest were like second and third round picks. So
Preach, Daniels,
can someone help
preach.
me out with this, please? Please, someone help me out with this.
You are not going to hear any flack from me. I look at it this way, man. The longevity of a running back. I mean, you look at Saquon Barkley. You look at McCaffrey. I mean, these are guys that are highly talented, tremendous backs, and they can't get on the field. So you look at our position right now, and you hit it on the head. Drafting a running back at 30, okay, is it going to put us over the hump? I think that's the lazy. I don't know. I don't watch football that often. I'm not into it. And running back, yeah, we couldn't run the ball last year. Let's go get a great running back. That'll fix everything. Well, we didn't block very well last year, especially on the interior. We left our running backs. They were getting hit behind the line of scrimmage. There wasn't much space for them to run through. And people ought to assume that Devin Singletary had a very good rookie year. He was very productive in his limited role. That he just fell off? That he just stopped being a good running back? We weren't in the same offensive scheme for him. We didn't allow for these running backs to produce. So if you're going to bring in, like I said before, I put out a tweet that got some hype. Drafting a running back at 30 and expecting that to fix our problems is like covering your ears when you smell shit. You're not solving the problem. You know, we're not blocking well. We don't have a good scheme. So it would be very hard for me to get behind any running back. And the fact that I like Javonte Williams more than I like any of the other two. Yeah. But I think drafting a running back at 30 to me is kind of like this luxury pick, and we're not in a position to have this luxury pick because we have, despite being one game away from the Super Bowl, we have a lot of deficiencies on this team that are masked up by a bend but don't break defense who made some timely plays last year that may not go their way this year, and Josh Allen's extraordinary MVP-esque season. So there's other issues to be addressed besides a luxury running back who's going to get 10 carries a game? No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you.
Don, help us out here. Don, am I crazy, Don? Am I crazy for the way that I think? Talk to me, Don.
No. If ATN's there, he's at 30, they might think about it. But we all are on the same trend. We got to go defense. You got to go defense at the 30 spot. Tampa Bay won the Super Bowl against Kansas City because of what? They got pressure to Mahomes, and that's what we need to do. I know they didn't have both their tackles in that game, but they showed what Mahomes needed. You know, we didn't get pressure to Mahomes. That's why we lost against Kansas City. Is a running back going to get us over the hump? Absolutely not. Honestly, I think the reason we got the guy now, we brought him in, Matt Breida. The guy's great out of the backfield catching the ball. So he does a good job. Am I saying he's Travis Etienne? No, I'm not, but it's what we have. We don't need Etienne at 30, and I damn well we're not moving up to get him, and I hope we don't.
Hey, listen, see, like you were just talking about with Jamin Davis, the media drives and controls a lot of this. They are talking about the Bills actually thinking about moving up to get a running back. So not only making a stupid pick at 30, but moving up to get him.
Paying for a
TFC,
stupid pick.
Please, Lord.
Yeah.
So
Give me some hope.
let me tell you guys something. Let me tell you a little secret. So back a couple of years ago, I was actually the insider for Buffalo Fanatics with everything that happened at One Bills Drive. When was the last time you actually heard something get out of that building that actually was true? You haven't.
I don't know.
I stopped paying attention to most of
don't.
it because it wasn't. Yeah.
There's not. I mean, they are so tight-lipped over there. It doesn't happen. They're not moving up to get. There's no way Brandon Beane's going to do that. I really don't. If anything, I can see Brandon Beane trying to go down, maybe to get some, but then going back into the first round to get that fifth-year option, like we talked about earlier. So to me, it doesn't make sense to grab a running back.
I'm doing some quick research here. Just go ahead.
Go ahead. The comments are rolling in. No, I'm just saying the comments are rolling in because this is a hot topic. Who is this? I got to get at him. Who is this? Drew Emmerling. But a running game keeps them off the field. The Bills ran the second least amount in the league. If you're telling me that they're going to run it 25 times a game, I might get on board with it. But they don't run the ball at all. So, no, it does not keep them off the field because they do not run the ball. So I don't know where that's coming from. But TFC, you got to get in here. Get in here, man.
So I was doing some quick research on the 30th overall pick, the value of that, and where it slots in as far as the contract, because they have 2 third-round running backs and a veteran minimum in Matt Breida. They've made their position clear financially what they think of the position. The 30th overall pick has a total value of $11 million, a $5.4 million signing bonus, and an estimated $2.02 million cap hit in 2021. So he would effectively double the amount they spend on the position between what they're paying Zach Moss and Devin Singletary right now. And it would make that player like in the top 20 of running backs in the NFL. So you're not just investing in the position, you're investing financially in the position where you've drafted in the 3rd round the last 2 seasons. So again, I talked about you're building a committee, and then you're going to blow the whole committee up for a top running back. That doesn't make any sense. None of it makes any sense. Other than I saw him in the college football playoff. I know his name and I want him. Now I will say, the one thing that I would give a slight nod to is that if you have all this room created by the passing attack, and you have Travis Etienne, he can do a better job taking advantage of the space given. But the space has to be given by the offensive line, first and foremost. And it has to be given the football. So there's a lot of mitigating factors to him taking advantage of the space given. But he would do that better than the other guys on the roster.
I mean, I look at it like you just said. We just invested. To me, this would be admitting you're wrong. You just invested back-to-back 3rd-round picks in running backs. So all your evaluating, all your scouting, and all your talent search brought you Singletary and Moss. And yet, a year later, you're going to say, yeah, we messed both those picks up. We're going to go here again. I feel like, on that alone, admitting how bad you made a mistake 2 years in a row at the same position in the same round, you didn't get it right. Well, now we're going to move up to first and try to get it right. I think that in itself is an embarrassment that you would have to go 3 running backs 3 years in a row to try to get it right, when they're not really the problem.
Drew, Travis Etienne doesn't break tackles like that. So that's the other thing is Bills fans say we need to enforce our will on teams late. First off, the offensive line does that. And Travis Etienne is not a smash him up running back. He is a fast, take advantage of space running back. That's not even what you want. It's an emotion thing. And this is EJ, this is the thing. Luckily, the draft is tomorrow because I'm done trying to convince people that running backs are a symptom instead of the actual diagnosis. I'm out. I
am on Bills Mafia back, bro. I'm on their back body. Because this is not sound football logic, though. Like you just said, bro, they're getting ready to double. Yeah. You guys want them to double in payment what they're paying 3 running backs, bro. Like, that don't even make no sense. And that's all
Yeah.
I've ever asked. All I've asked is to give me sound football acumen to why we should take Najee Harris or Etienne at 30. And never, ever, of any explanation I've ever got is, oh, well, we need a home run threat out of the backfield. You got, like you said, Don, they have Breida. Breida is one of the fastest backs in the league, and he can catch. So why, Don, I want you to speak to why is Bills Mafia not giving more credit to Matt Breida, because he did play in Kyle Shanahan's office and was quite productive. As much as I don't like Breida, he was productive in Kyle Shanahan's office. So, Don, I want you to talk about why Bills Mafia doesn't give more respect to Matt Breida.
I'm a big Breida fan. I think Miami didn't utilize him correctly, and I don't think they utilized any of the running backs correctly last year, to be honest. So it was a great fit for us, to pull a guy like that. Listen, you talk about the ATN thing. I mean, it's Alvin Kamara. You're not jamming Alvin Kamara up the middle of the field. You're getting him out in space. So if we do go that route, I agree with it, but it just doesn't make sense to do it. We do have the Breida guy. He's going to do exactly what ATN's going to do. And to me, it just doesn't make sense at all. I mean, listen, all the Bills Mafia, they're not big college watch. They don't watch college football as much as, say, some of us do. I watch a lot of college football, a lot. And they know the name. They know the name. He's a Clemson guy, national champion winner. There you go. To me, he's not what we're bringing in, though. He's not a fit. I mean, we're a northeast team. I could see if you're a dome team like that, it would be a good fit for him. To me, he's just not a fit up here.
Now, we talked about, how our pick at 30 should help us get over the hump of Kansas City.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
However we address that's what that pick should mean to us, to Bills Mafia. How does drafting Travis Etienne and adding him to a complement of 3 other running backs help us get over the hump? Now, even if you said you eliminate one of those running backs from the mix, if they move on from somebody, or they deal Singletary, or something happens to make room for Etienne, how much impact is he going to have on an offense that is all geared around towards Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs and throwing the ball around the yard 70% of the time? Like you said, are you now going to say, well, Travis Etienne is good enough in this offense to take away from Josh Allen? To take the ball out of Josh Allen's hands more? No, but that's what I'm saying. To me, that's kind of the investment you're making, is we are now going to bring in Travis Etienne to take the ball out of Josh Allen's hand more.
God, I love you guys.
Yes. Thank
you. Get
Greg,
it.
that was awesome. I'm using that on Twitter. I'm using that on Twitter tomorrow. Tomorrow I am using that on Twitter. Are you going to take the ball?
I'm copywriting it.
Yes, please. Are you taking the ball out of Josh's hands to put it in Travis Etienne's hands? And I think the consensus answer by Bills Mafia as a whole is hell no. You are not doing that.
But I mean, there's a time and a place for running the ball, and I think there was times last year we said, "Geez, I wish we could run the ball a little bit more now, so Josh doesn't have to throw it 60 times a game when we have a lead, and protect the lead and keep the defense fresh." But we have those backs that could do that, who could eat some clock, who can grind it out, who can make enough yards to not invest the first-round pick in getting someone to do the same thing that we already have. We just need to fix the scheme, put better personnel on the offensive line, and hope Cody Ford, Feliciano, Lamp, or Bodiger can get it fixed in the interior, and we could be a better running offense with what we have.
Plus,
end of story.
I saw a workout video from
Singletary, yes.
Devin Singletary.
He looks
so
good,
we know that means that he's going to have a great year, because there was a workout video of another running back on Twitter, which is another thing of, like, I've seen all of it now. Like, I've seen everyone doing their insane workouts. Like, it is cool. I love body kinetics and all of the cool things athletes do, but, like, I need less of the off-season workout videos, because they don't prove anything to me. That's your job. That's like saying, hey, I made that block.
Yeah. I was just getting ready to say, like, yo, I mean, you supposed to do that. I was just about to say that. So, Don, Drew Emmerling clearly has not been watching our show this whole time. So could you please answer his question, please?
Well, I want to make a comment too about Bills Mafia a couple years ago when we had Josh Allen, they bitched and complained, is Josh ever going to throw for 300 yards? We run the ball. We're a run first offense. Now we're a pass first offense. We're throwing it all over the place. Now all of a sudden we don't have a running game. So what is it? I mean, we are one game away from the Super Bowl. We have the pieces there. Don't take it away from him. What are you going to take more balls away from Beasley, and you're going to take away from Emmanuel Sanders and Stephon Diggs? You're going to take balls away from him just to throw him around to ATN? It just makes zero sense. So, well, I was looking a little bit about Drew. He's agreeing with us there. He thinks he knows that, you know, the reason why we, you know, couldn't make it over the hump.
He's coming around.
He is coming around.
He's coming around.
I'm looking at it, Drew. Nice job. You're doing a nice job.
Right.
I'm reading all his comments. He's actually starting to realize that. Yeah. But
yes.
yeah, it's to me, you know, to me the Bills, Bob, they're just they love the ATN name. You know, he's to me it feels like I feel like he's been at Clemson for like 10 years.
Yeah.
You know.
Can we talk about something more
gladly.
interesting than running back soon?
Thank you.
I've been zoning out thinking about Travis Etienne. I just
Exactly.
have not been into the running backs this year.
Oh,
But to answer Drew's question,
yeah.
oh, I'm sorry. We have to fortify the defense. I mean, we either got to find someone who could cover the pass because Kansas City could throw it up and down the field, or someone who can get to the quarterback because the more time you give Patrick Mahomes, the worse it's going to be. So you have to either fix it on the front end or the back end. And I think there's people that are going to be there. The value will be there on one way or the other. If there's a pass rusher there at 30, take them. If there's the best value is in a cornerback, take them. And I think those are the two ways we can address taking that step and getting over the hump, beating Kansas City, getting to the quarterback and shutting down the quarterback from throwing all over the field.
I feel like Drew's getting a lot of hate. Drew, I want to say you're a good person, and I appreciate your last comment there. Very open-minded of you.
Yes, and thank you for participating in the show, man. We love the love.
Yeah.
We love.
Hey, Drew, if you missed
just
the beginning, I think the consensus was defense, 100%. It's, you know, cornerback, edge. I think it's one of those two things. We all know that's the two biggest weaknesses. That's what we need to bring in, whether it's a cornerback at 30, whether it's the defensive end / edge / linebacker guy. That's great too. To me, I'd be happy if either one of those we go that route. And listen,
Yeah,
I see it. I see defensive end. I really do. That's what I see.
I think we're all in agreement that in Dan Jeremiah yesterday when he was on Path to the Draft, he said, you know, oh my God, what did he just say? Oh my God. Oh, everything that they do should be geared towards beating Kansas City. I mean, and that's just simply what it is since they're so close. I mean, so how do you do that? Look at what the Bucs did. Like you mentioned, Don, you know, they were able to get pressure on Mahomes. You know, that is how you do it. And then on top of that, you know, the Bucs have been investing draft capital in grabbing DBs. They've grabbed 7 DBs in the past 3 drafts. So they've constantly been adding DBs because, like you said, Don, again, you can never have too many cornerbacks. You can never have too many quarterbacks. So now that I got that out of my system, and now that I've talked about, you know, running back at 30, we're going to answer some of these questions because they rolling in. So, Greg, you're the resident O-line guy. Answer Kyle's question for me if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see one in the first round. I don't think it makes sense there. I mean, I've been in love with Elijah Vera Tucker, and I think he's the best guard in the draft, but I just don't see him coming to 30 by any means. So I think the earliest we should address it, depending on how the board falls, is 3rd round. And that's where I have Kendrick Green, somewhere in that area, Trey Smith, someone like that, I think would be getting a big, nasty, you know, aggressive guy who could add that attitude, that size, that strength to the interior. 3rd round to me has been, since I started doing the draft and breaking it down, 3rd round has been a target spot for me to address the offensive line.
Yeah. Is there any offensive line targets that you would like to see? We've mentioned Kendrick Green, TFC. Is there any other offensive line prospects that you would like to see the Bills go after or target in a certain round?
I'm happy with later. You know, I didn't do as much on the later interior O-line guys, but Sedarius Hutcherson, I know we talked about him a little bit. I think a project like that would be good because you do have the flexibility of time. But I saw Kendrick Green, I'm like, that's the guy I want. So there you go. But I do think that there's a couple of guys that you get starting guards in the 5th and 6th round. So that's really where they come from when you look at the draft. That's where I'm interested in picking them. So one of those guys, maybe even if you wanted a Jalen Mayfield, I'm not a huge fan of him either. Yeah, but like that, again, that's a project guard that you're going to see whether or not it works out. You pick that in the 5th round. One of those 5th round picks I'm fine with.
I'm going to make this statement now. Tevin Jenkins will be an all-pro guard in the NFL.
Yeah.
He's going to be an all-pro guard,
I like
guaranteed.
Tevin. I like Tevin.
He is the best
Don,
run blocker
yeah.
in the draft.
Yeah, he's good.
100%. Don, can you answer Evan's question for me, please?
Which one is it?
It says,
Scale 1 to
on a scale
10.
of
How
1 to 10,
mad would you
Oh.
be?
1,000. Because to me, it makes zero sense because you get that 5th-year option in the first year, in the first round. So to me, if anything, we move down. I don't see us moving out of the first round. I really don't. So, I'd be not happy at all because we put a lot of work into this and we look at it all year. And to go into the second, I'd be pissed.
Don,
There's
would
too many
you
good players.
would you rather if the board got thin in a way we didn't like? Would you rather trade back and grab some additional picks or overreach on the first round just to draft someone in the first round?
To me, though, what are we going to get? We're going to go into the second, and we're going to get what, a 4th out of it?
I say
Maybe.
if we were within the first 5-6 picks into the second round to move back, I mean, potentially we could probably still land that guy, depending how the board. If we had a Jalen Phillips, someone there as what's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But if that thinned out in the back end to the point where we're kind of looking around, scratching, well, we got a couple of reaches here to move back 8-9 spots to pick up that 4th, and maybe probably still land the guy we would have drafted in that vicinity. That's the only way I would see it.
You might be onto something there because it's pretty good, right? That 20 to 45 spot. There's some really good players that are going to be there. Let's just be honest. I mean, even the early second round, people are going to want to jump down to get into that early second round because there's some really, really nice players there that there's going to be quite a few that have first round grades. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, after the quarterback, then you got your edge guys, your cornerbacks obviously are going to be big, wide receivers. Then it's going to be wide open. There's going to be players all over. So I could see
guys,
that, Greg. You're right.
Yeah. Greg is on his stuff today, man. So we getting
No,
more viewership and we're getting more questions rolling in as this topic is getting hot blooded. So Drew is showing love to the show. Drew, I didn't mean to beat up on you like that, bro. I've been pent up for a while. If you follow me, go follow me on Twitter at edaniel77. I'm on Bills Mafia back every day about running back at 30. So it wasn't all you. TFC, James, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, Drew just happened to be crossing the train tracks when the train was coming through.
Innocent bystander, bro. Innocent bystander. James asks, okay, what would be all four of you guys' ideal 30th pick? This is a great question. My ideal 30th pick would be, if healthy, it would be Caleb Fairley. If healthy. But he just got coronavirus. He also had 2 bad back surgeries. But if healthy, that would be the ideal 30th pick. But I have to take Caleb Fairley out because he does have medical issues. So Asante Samuel Jr. for me. So everybody else, that's mine.
Yeah, are we still doing best case, worst case scenarios? Because Caleb Fairley is my worst case scenario. Because I really feel like you're just lighting a pick on fire at 30 if you're taking Caleb Farley. The dude, like we addressed this in the cornerback show, but like, you can talk about upside all you want. You can talk about the tantalizing potential all you want. I know for certain he has 2 back injuries. He's had 2 back surgeries, and the first one didn't fix it when it was supposed to. So, like, that is no. Just no. That's a worst case scenario for me. Ideally, I want both corner and edge defender at 30. I want both of them, but because of the depth of the edge defender, Jalen Phillips at 30, that would be ideal.
Okay.
So I think staying put 30, Jalen Phillips there would be great, but I think we all talked about it. If there is a way Bean can give up a little bit to move up and get Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, I think he alone, he's the only guy I would move up for, and that's the only guy to me that would make sense for, that he is that type of player who solves all of our defensive problems in just one addition. And if it was a small move to move up and get him that wouldn't cost us, a ton of next day picks and next year and all that stuff, that would be ideal for me if we could walk away from that with a nice clean transition, a trade up, but probably not going to happen. So Jalen Phillips.
Don, for you, your ideal. 30th overall pick?
Well, ideal. It's funny. I just saw somebody write their ideal would be Panay Sewell, but that's not happening anytime soon.
Very ideal. Yeah. In the realms of possibility, ideal.
Thank you, Evan. That's I like that. It would be great if you did land at 30, but there's a 0% chance of that happening. But a guy I really, really, really like, and to me, he's the next Von Millerish type guy is Aziz Ojulari if he does fall. Love the guy. I mean, you want to get to the quarterback? You got it. I would move up for him as well. He is just so explosive. You look at him in that last bowl game they had, he had 4 sacks. I mean, they had no shot of getting to him. I mean, it was just ridiculous. His burst, his first step is insane. 30th realistic. Phillips, I do like. To me, he's fallen back a little bit. He was in that 20 spot right around. Now I see him in that 30, 35. I'm a big Gregory Rousseau fan. I mean, in 19, the guy just dominated. He's a big, lengthy guy. You can get him 10 to 12, plays in a game. He's your ideal defensive end out there that you can get there. So those are your picks that possibly. Do I see Bean going that route? No, I don't. I don't see him going that. I think Phillips would be his player over, those guys. But that's where I'm falling. I would love to see J.C. Horn from South Carolina fall. I don't see that. He keeps moving up. I really like him. So many players you could talk about. 10 of them that I would like at 30. But I'll stay there.
Okay. Alrighty, so we are getting to the end of this because I didn't expect it to get as hot-blooded and people start rolling in with the comments. But Kyle has a question, so we're going to try to answer as many of these questions as we can. So Kyle says, will an Ertz trade happen, and what's the cost? A fourth? Well, the Bills, if I'm not mistaken, don't have a fourth. Right?
2022
so
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they don't have a fourth. And so now, will it happen? I don't think – at this point in time, I don't think it's going to happen. I like Jacob Hollister. He's very underrated, and as I've mentioned before, he was very productive when he got opportunities to play with Russell Wilson. So I don't see why he can't do the same thing with Allen, and he's a great run blocker also. I mean, he was in the top 20 in PFF run blocking grade. So is Dawson Knox. So I am not the biggest Dawson Knox fan. He definitely drops the ball a little too much for my liking. But I think when he was coming on at the end of last year, I think that was enough for him to warrant, hey, now on this third, you got all your drops out your system. Now we need to see you pick it up. So to answer your question, I do not think that a Ertz trade is going to happen. But what do you guys think?
I don't think so either. I don't see we don't have a fourth this year. We've already were at the table talking about trying to get them, and whatever was being asked of was not to Bean's liking. So even if they lowered their price tag, I think we've moved on from him, and I don't think we have the payroll to take him on, quite honestly.
That's the biggest part for me is he's a 30-year-old injury history tight end, and he doesn't separate well. So I don't think he solves the equation and he adds more to your cap, which is going to be a problem in the future. So other than the immediate upgrade to a starting caliber former top 5 tight end, I don't see it. Like I'll take Dallas Goedert if they wanted to give the Bills Dallas Goedert. Yes, I'm all in all day.
Right? Yeah.
But they're not. They've got a Zach Ertz on a platter, and I'll take a ham sandwich before I take Zach Ertz at this point.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement that Zach Ertz just really wouldn't do much for us. Yeah. So this is going to be the last question, man, because I know my guys got to get out of here. This is from Mafia of the Bills. He said, what improvement on defense will neutralize the Chiefs? We've kind of answered this already, but since you have stayed to the end, we're going to answer it again for you. The way you beat the Chiefs is, number one, you have to get pressure on Mahomes. That's how you beat the Chiefs, right? So at pick 30, you either going to have to get an edge rusher that you believe in or just throw the kitchen sink at cornerback. The Bills don't have any athletic cornerbacks. They have an all-pro at cornerback, but they don't have any athletic cornerbacks, right? So the Chiefs do. They have Travis Kelce, the best tight end in football, and then now they have Tyreek Hill, who's top 5 wide receiver, we'll say, who can make plays pretty much any alignment he is at. So you're going to have to neutralize it in some way, or you're telling me that the Bills are going to commit to running the ball 25 times a game to keep them off the field, which they've shown that they are not going to do. So to neutralize the Chiefs, in my opinion, just to throw the kitchen sink at cornerback. That is my remedy to the problem because you're gonna have to get more athletic at some point. So I think that is the best way to utilize the Chiefs. Guys, what do you think it is?
I think we've been going back and forth on it all night long. It's either a front line issue or a back line issue. You either have to get a pass rusher who can make a difference and get in the backfield and be disruptive and make Mahomes have to move and make bad decisions, or you have to get someone back there who could run it and play with these guys and cover them. My only thing is, I think Asante Samuel's an upgrade, and who we'd probably get at 30 would be an upgrade from what we have. I just don't know if that cornerback at 30 would make that much of a difference in neutralizing some of the, Travis Kelce and or Tyreek Hill.
My biggest question is why is Mafia of the Bills all capsing all of their comments? That's a red flag to me. So like that's my question to you is like there's some quasi bot stuff going on there, Mafia of the Bills. Can you give me some signs that you're not a Russian bot here to drop in some spam for us? That would be helpful. But yeah, I agree with what everybody else said. By the way, I just want to say that Jason Owe runs a 4.36. See, all caps. I'm telling you, there's something going on there. Anyway, Jason Owe runs a 4.36. Mahomes, when he runs 20 yards back, if you want to do the math of like where they'd meet at a train at midnight in Georgia or something like that, just run him down. Run him down. That's what I want. So, I want an explosive edge rusher because the defense needs more speed. Wherever it is, the team in general needs more athleticism and needs more speed.
Good note,
Don, you get the last word, man.
I agree with that. I agree 100%. We got to get to the quarterback. I do want to make a comment about Kyle. I love your comment about Ditka and the draft to go grab Kyle Pitts. I'm a Florida guy. Kyle Pitts will be an Atlanta Falcon, most definitely. I told everybody before the season started, he's a top 5 player. The kid is ridiculous. He doesn't drop balls. He's a great kid, too. So best of luck to Kyle Pitts because he is a good one. I'll tell you that.
I'm telling you, Mafia of the Bills is a bot. That doesn't make any sense, man. Give me something that isn't a bot answer.
No, he's saying like his words are capped that we'll notice it in the mix of all the other things being said.
Right. That's what I said.
He's trying to stand out.
Well, it worked because I got some side eye for what you're doing there. But I'm glad you're not a robot. Thank you for not being a robot.
We are ecstatic to see so much love and so much appreciation for all you guys sticking to the end and showing our draft show love. We have not gotten as much love on the show before. We've got it one other time, but this was great. We talked about a hot-blooded topic. That running back at 30 thing seems to always get Bills Mafia's juice just going. So again, we appreciate everyone. We appreciate everyone showing Cold Front Report love. I think our next show will have to be us going over the Bills picks. I think that is a very fitting thing because we will see, what the Bills have done in the draft and how these picks will fit into the Bills defense or offense or whatever the case may be. So I think that will be a very fitting show. We will finally get the question answered whether or not the Bills will draft a running back at 30. I am praying to God that doesn't happen. But again, I just want to say to everyone who is watching right now that we appreciate you and come in after next Thursday when we talk about the Bills draft picks and all they did from draft weekend. We will have a draft recap probably at the same time, but this will be a Thursday now. We'll have it on Thursday. We had to do one before the draft, so we'll have a show on Thursday at 9 p.m. And just before I get off, I want to thank our guest, Don, for coming on here and giving his insight. We really appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
great time, guys.
Definitely.
We'll have to get together again.
Absolutely.
You brought out all of Bills Mafia who came in and chimed in, so we appreciate it. So we appreciate you.
Hey, shout out to Jeremy inviting me. I appreciate it. It was great.
Yes, sir. Shout out to Jeremy, the man who makes it all happen at the Cold Front Report. So again, tune in next Thursday at 9 p.m. as we recap all the Bills draft picks, and come again with your hot takes and come again with your questions because we love the interaction. So until next time, Bills Mafia, let's gear up for draft day.